My name is Abby Gaston and I'm the Joint Acting Head of Careers and Enterprise, and I'm going to be talking to you about preparing today's students for tomorrow's workplace. Through this talk, you'll get an insight into tomorrow's workplace, you'll be able to identify what employers are looking for in their graduate hires and understand how we prepare our students for graduate work. Now, when I gave this talk about tomorrow's workplace in spring 2019, I talked about how the fourth industrial revolution is in the future, where there's more agile working, where data is integral to all companies to a new degree, and there'll be a heavy reliance on tech. And this still seemed like it was a while away. In fact, I quoted an article saying that 82% of employees acknowledge that digital technologies will transform the way that they work in the next 3 years. But little did any of us know at the time how the pandemic would change the working world so soon. In fact, MIT in 2020 published an article saying that we are already in the fourth industrial revolution. The pandemic has brought so many technological developments forward. So now agile working is expected to be the norm because we have the tech to do it. Indeed, most companies are now looking at how they use their office space going forward because they expect employees to work at least part of the week remotely from home, which they never would have before. Organisations that have thrived in the last year are those who were already prepared for digital transformation, and those that have collapsed, notably various high street brands, were not able to move into the digital space sufficiently to continue. So the first point about tomorrow's workplace is that it has in many ways already arrived. It needs to be embedded, sure, ironed out, thought through, but the seeds of tomorrow's workplace have already started to grow because of a pandemic. So what does a full digital transformation of our workplace really look like? Well, according to Accenture's report, New Skills Now, Inclusion in the Digital Economy, the jobs of the future may look very different. Accenture research has found that 74% of business and IT leaders from 31 countries say their organisation is entering areas that have yet to be defined. Indeed, the prediction is that 65% of children starting school today will work in jobs that currently don't exist. 10% of jobs will be at risk of automation, and this will mostly affect those in lower skilled jobs. And indeed, that is concerning, but there are thankfully powerful voices in the debate about how this gets worked out. Bill Gates, for example, has suggested that those companies using high levels of robotic labour should pay a robot tax in order to compensate for the loss of taxes from human workers. This could help pay for jobs where human interaction will indeed remain paramount, such as caring for children, caring for the elderly. Another big voice, Elon Musk, has called for a universal basic income for those whose work is displaced by automation altogether. So that is the big picture in terms of where our workplace is going. It is moving towards automation. It is moving towards more AI and heavy reliance on data. But what about UK graduate recruiters? Just scaling right down to the big players in the UK market. What do they think the graduate market will look like in 5 years' time? Well, the Institute for Student Employers in 2020 surveyed the largest graduate recruiters, asking them what change they expect to see over the next 5 years. Now, 97% of respondents felt they had at least one diversity strand that they needed to work on over the next 5 years to ensure a diverse workforce, and race and ethnicity was the strand that was most commonly identified. Respondents also expected the skills, attitudes and behaviours they needed over the next 5 years to change, with resilience, emotional intelligence and remote working becoming increasingly important. Notably, 75% said resilience would be most important, which far outstrips the next most important skill, which was emotional intelligence, which only 51% of organisations thought would be most important. And I thought that was very interesting and no doubt a reflection of the last year. The increasing importance of new hires' ability to work from home was linked to the question of whether employers anticipate a longer term shift to home working. 58% of organisations were in fact unsure as to whether the proportion of early career staff working from home would change over the next 5 years, whilst around 20% thought they would see a growth in home working for early career staff. And this was similar to the proportion that expected no long-term change at 19%, but much greater than the proportion who were expecting more staff to be office-based. Interestingly, out of 156 organisations, Almost 1/5 anticipated it would be more difficult to recruit IT programmers. And this is possibly due to the fact that the rate of change in IT is outstripping the rate of education in that change. So lots of things are changing, but some things don't change. An article in 1988 by Golson put forward the skills needed by graduates and presents a similar list of skills to those listed in the ISE's annual survey of graduate recruiters. And in research done by the CBI, Edge Foundation, Bennett and Golson between 1988 and 2017, the skills required by employers that were common to most of those lists across all the 29 years were teamwork, communication, problem solving, numeracy, interpersonal skills and IT. So regardless of all the changes that your students will need to be prepared for, they will still need the core competencies required for all of the previous years in all those years in the future. Some things really don't change. But employers will also be looking for a growth mindset. There is so much happening. There's so much that is undefined in the future of work. So over and above all the skills that we've talked about, concepts such as a growth mindset that introduces possibilities through learning, trying and taking risks will prepare students to navigate an unpredictable future. And I think we've already been seeing that in the last year in all of our lives. Now, in addition to these transferable skills and the growth mindset, employers will be looking for an excitement and enthusiasm for their particular area of work that's evidenced through passion, through motivation. So students need to be showing a range of transferable skills, they need to be showing the growth mindset, and they need to be showing motivation in order to get a graduate job. So how do we at Queen Mary equip our students with all of that? Well, in terms of getting skills through work experience, at school they can obviously do work shadowing and self-organised experience, and at Queen Mary we have various projects which allow students to get work experience which really develops their particular skill set. We have the Student Consultancy Project where students work in teams of 5 to solve a real life project for the client. That goes over the space of a term and is really fantastic work experience which helps students to develop new skills and really understand the professional workplace. Q Interns places individual students into work experience with an employer, either 40 hours in a micro internship, which is part-time and flexible, or full-time over the summer. Q Temps gives students part-time and full-time work experience on and local to campus, or virtually at the moment. And our incubator and accelerator allow entrepreneurs to test out their business idea and develop it until they're ready to launch at graduation. And of course, Queen Mary does also offer placement year for some degrees, where students can build in industrial experience into their degree. And so work experience is a fantastic way that students can develop those transferable skills that employers are looking for. They can also develop skills through a year abroad. So we see some great outcomes for students who've been on a year abroad, 20% less likely to be out of work, 10% more likely to be in graduate jobs. And of course, whilst they're at school, they can continue developing their skills through things like Young Enterprise, Duke of Edinburgh, any kind of extracurricular activities. And those extracurricular activities and Enterprise, Duke of Edinburgh, I think they all help to develop students thinking on their feet outside of the classroom. And that's what the year abroad does too. That ability to be adaptable, to problem solve, to think on the feet, to think creatively in new ways, to be agile, all of that comes through this extracurricular activity. And so that's where also the student union comes into play. So students can develop skills through activities in the student union. The student union has so many opportunities through society, through the media, through positions of responsibility, through buddying. And these will all enhance the CV, as well as giving students the opportunity to evidence to the employer that they've gained some skills proactively outside of their degree. I'm always encouraging our students to get involved in things outside the classroom, and that's something that they can start absolutely whilst they're at school. And of course, whilst they're here, they can be developing their skills through all those things I've talked about so far with work experience as well. I also said that employers want students to show their passion and motivation. Well, we have lots of different ways that students can explore their career options, and that's really crucial for them to do so that they can then decide what it is they want to do and why they want to do it. And that then enables them to explain that to the employer and show that passion when they're applying for a job. So just to go through some of those ways, we have Q Taster, where students visit 5 different employers across 5 afternoons, network and get insight into different roles. We have employer events and alumni panels, where students can find out more about a specific role and what it involves on the day-to-day, the highs and the lows, the challenges, the career path to get there. We have career choice workshops, where our expert careers consultants help students to understand how they make a good career decision. We also recommend that students undertake personal projects to help them test out their motivation for a particular area. If a student comes to me and says they want to be a journalist, but they're not that interested in social media and they don't really want to take the time to write a blog, then that's a good indication that maybe journalism isn't for them. So testing out a career idea through personal projects not only helps the student to understand if it's for them, but it also evidences to an employer that they are motivated because they've undertaken activities that further their insight into a particular area. Work shadowing and work experience is always a way to show further passion and motivation. And so is mentoring, and we put about 300 students through our mentoring scheme every year, and they get a chance to really quiz a professional on the job that they do and how they got into it, and to talk through their own career ideas. So that's really a whistle-stop tour of how we help students gain skills required by employers through work experience and extracurricular activities, and help them work out what it is that they want to do so that they can understand what they're passionate about and pursue a career which aligns with their passion and express their motivation for it. We do also have various tools and activities that really teach students how they can express their passion, motivation and skills to employers. So we run one-to-one careers appointments and workshops through our careers consultants, and those teach students how they can use their CV, their cover letter, their interviews to really convey what they can offer to an employer. We also get employers in to talk to our students and give them training. For example, they might run an assessment centre for them to practice. We run one-to-one practice interviews so that students can have a go at answering interview questions before the real thing. And we have various online softwares so that 24/7 students can be having a go at how to do a video interview or practicing psychometric tests so that they are ready for the real thing. So I hope that has been a useful summary for you of where we might be going with tomorrow's workplace and how we at Queen Mary prepare our students so they are ready to really thrive in that workplace. Thank you.